for Arfield. 1-0 Burnley. Scott Arfield. He's been threatening that recently. And all the Burnley players run to the Darwin end.
Burnley win the next ball. Here's Rory now. On the outside. Decent.
Barnes! He got it! Ashley Barnes with it! What a cross from Rory! And there was Ashley Barnes! And Burnley leading the derby.
Knocks it quickly. Finds Benson in space at the byline. Can Burnley get a goal here? Back for Brownell. Saved by the keeper!
Burnley won it to the end! That is magnificent! They deserve that!
What about Paul Teller? Off for a hat-trick.
He's got it! Hat-trick for Nathan Teller! Oh, he's on fire at the minute! 3-0 Burnley! It's Nathan Teller's day!
And Burnley are 3 up here. Fantastic derby. Here's Benson. Can he go on the outside? Comes inside. Top shot.
Oh, the goal! Manuel Benson once more! That is top class! Burnley have done it! Fantastic! Clarets deserve the championship title. They've been the best side throughout the campaign. Burnley have won the second tier. What a fantastic achievement. The players have been magnificent.
Yes, hello everybody, and welcome along to the latest episode of the Turfcast podcast, full-time show with me, Joe Redmen, after our Boxing Day defeat against the Scousers at the Turf. Probably a game of two halves again, just like the Fulham game was, but of course this time we didn't manage to come out on top. As you can see, just the two of us today, myself, Joe Redmond, and Sam from Clarets Roundup. How are you doing, mate?
I'm not bad, mate. I'm not bad at all, considering.
Yeah, did you have a good Christmas?
It was lovely, mate. It was lovely. Did you?
I did, mate. Thank you very much. I'm wearing my Burnley shirt. I got a Burnley shirt for Christmas.
I love it.
Santa brought me a Burnley shirt. I love Santa for that. Thank you. But after all the defending I've given for the yellow shirt on the podcast and in the WhatsApp group and on the socials, it's the one that I don't have. The only one that I don't have this season now. So the proof's in the pudding. Maybe I do prefer this one, and maybe Santa do that. No Neil today. He actually has a life. Obviously, with it being Christmas, he's spending time with family and stuff like that. Me and Sam evidently do not have one. My family's downstairs starving because I've not fed them yet. That's obviously a joke before social services get involved. He can feed himself. He's fine. But before we get started, I just want to remind you all that the Turfcast podcast full-time show is officially sponsored by Wave Car Finance. Wave Car Finance are a local car finance company who specialise in getting you your dream car through their fantastic one-to-one personalised service. Their finance-first approach ensures that you can secure the very best finance deal in a deal tailored to suit you, and they can even settle any existing finance agreement to swap your current car into a new one. And to celebrate this brilliant new partnership between Wave Car Finance and Turfcast, if you mention Turfcast podcast to them, they will give you a voucher worth up to £200 to spend at the Burnley FC Club Shop on completion of your finance deal. So why not pop down to their stunning showroom in Whalley, or give them a call, or even just send them an email or a message on social media to start your new car adventure today. And please remember to mention Turfcast. We do not get anything if you mention Turfcast, but you will get £200 worth of Burnley FC merchandise, basically. And what a better time to do it than January, because it'll be the January sales soon, I'm presuming, if the club are going to do them. They normally do, so I'm sure some things will be cheaper. But yes, get your comments coming in. It's Christmas, so I think the numbers might be, a little bit lower today. But we'll still getting some comments coming in, which is great to see. Inky Punk says, "Morning, laddies, morning." Andy Bennett says, "Morning, chaps. Decent performance overall. Just a shame that we can't take our chances." Kenny's in the live. He's always commented on the stuff. Kenny, it's good to see you on the live, mate. He says, "Hello from Canada." Jamesy Lad says, "Morning, guys. Have you seen the video of the guy tumbling down the Bob Lord stand? Merry Christmas to you." But I have not, actually, mate. I have not. If somebody can at me on Twitter with it, please. I've not seen that. I've not been as focused on the socials and stuff over the last few days for obvious reasons. I didn't even do much pre-game stuff yesterday, if I'm being honest with you. I just went to the match. Roger in the chat, he says, "Morning, lads. Morning, buddy." But yeah, I'll bring Andy's comment back up on screen there, Sam, because we're going to get into the match first. Obviously, what we always do is do the thoughts on the game first, so we'll do that. I personally thought, like I said in the intro, it was kind of like a game of two halves. I think first half we was passive. We didn't really get into the game. We were showing them too much respect, standing off them in the middle. And I thought, as much as I love Sander Berge and Brownhill and how better they've got recently, I thought in the first half they were quite passive. The game was passing them by. And I feel like the midfield battle wasn't being won. However, second half, apart from that first 10 minutes when it was just more of the same, that disallowed goal kind of gave us a bit of a lift, bizarrely, when they got that one ruled out for VAR. And then after that, Berge and Brownhill started getting a stranglehold of the game. He took Trezor off, and we'll get into Trezor in a minute because he got a bit of stick, and I'm not particularly sure why. But then he took Trezor off and he brought Goodmanson on. And the two in midfield started winning the battles then, and they weren't, giving as much time and as much respect as they were doing. And, they didn't have as much time on the ball. And we started to get into it. And that second half, after the first 10 minutes, was much better. So it left a lot of people leaving thinking, we played well and we were lucky, which I think second half we did. And if any of them chances that Berge had or Goodmanson had fall to, Foster or... Well, to be fair, I would have thought that Goodmanson or Berge would have done better with them headers, but pretty much anyone else, then who knows? We might have got a goal and had a bit of a late flurry because it would have been 1-1 at that point, obviously. But then first half wasn't great. Second half, much better, in my opinion. Sam, your thoughts, please, mate?
Yeah, I thought we were better than I thought we were going to be. That's partially down to the fact that the VAR decisions did go our way. I have to admit, I don't think they're second.
That foul, I've not seen it back, but at the time, I didn't think it was a foul. And people watching it like yourself and seeing the replays have said it's not a foul. It could have been 4 or 5 at half time, to be fair.
Yeah, exactly. Other than that, I think it was another situation of, with us, we don't work as a perfect unit constantly. Like, if the defense is doing really well, the attack's not doing very well. If the attack's doing really well, the defense is the thing letting us down. In the first half, it was that way, where the defense had let us down because we were getting split open left, right, and centre. Every time they went forward, they created a chance. There was a disconnect between the defence and midfield for most of the attacks. And then in the second half, it was the defence were pretty solid and limited them to a couple of half chances. And then when we were attacking, we were winning the ball back in such good positions, and we just couldn't get that final pass to stick, or the balls across the box were so poor. Like, we put so many balls into the box at the beginning of that second half, like Vitinho's crossing to the box and stuff like that. And it doesn't give you a good opportunity to score if you loop the ball to the back post with nobody there. You want to just try and get the ball into the danger area and hope it bounces. But then again, performance-wise, I think you've gone up against a team that's top of the league now and gave them a pretty decent game. I don't think we looked like we didn't belong in the division in a game like this, like that we have done before. I think we had better performances, a brilliant performance from James Trafford. I thought it was unbelievable. I think Trezor was great as well. Anybody giving him stick, I don't know what you watched. There was a couple of occasions where he gave the ball away, but he was one of the only creative, bright spark type players in the team trying to get us forward. And in so many occasions, he did that. But
we'll move on to that then now, because obviously we'll mention Trezor because there was a tweet I saw at half time that I shared, and I didn't mean it to be like, oh, look at this dickhead sort of thing. I shared it because I was like, I'd already seen a comment before, and I'm sat there watching it thinking, he's playing really well. Yes, he did give the ball away, but he was the only person in that first half that was running at defences, trying to make things happen. His first touch is incredible.
It's incredible, isn't it?
It's up there with Stephen Defoe's first touch. The amount of times he just brought it down effortlessly and then cut inside so brilliantly as well, which is obviously what company wants him to do, which is fair enough. But I thought it was class and I thought he played really well. I do worry that he might be the new Dwight McNeil with the fans just because he sometimes isn't sprinting 24/7. That people are, he's not interested. He doesn't want to be here. He's terrible. And because he gave the ball away 2 or 3 times when he's trying to make things happen, I'd rather him give the ball away, trying to make things happen, than cut back and give it to Sander in the field and just come backwards all the way to the keeper. I was disappointed with the reaction on Trezor. I thought Trezor played very, very well, and it sounds like you agree with me there, pal.
Yeah, 100%, mate. I think people people need to look at certain parts of football and realise that certain players are there, yes, to play as part of a system, and I think it's probably because we've had 2 managers now that are very system orientated. You know, it doesn't cater to individuals. You have to play your part in the system, otherwise the system falls apart. But Mike Trezor is an individualist type player. He's got great feet and he's very, very creative. And sometimes his best game isn't being told to run up and down and bust a gut to get back to the halfway line to then get forward, because he's a player that seems like, from what I saw yesterday, who plays well in bursts. Like, when he gets the ball, he can be creative. He cuts inside. That one where the ball came down, he just took it first touch inside, straight past Alexander-Arnold with his first touch. And we were like 3 against 4. And he played the ball across the box, and then Lyle couldn't pass the ball to Vitinho. It's like, for me, he's the type of player that, like when we had Benson, you turn around and you say, Benson's not playing the system. Benson's just going to do what Benson's good at. So he's going to cut in on his left foot and have a shot. He's going to go at his man on the right. He's going to go at his man on the left. He's going to use his quick feet and just go. He doesn't have to do the up and down running. He doesn't have to make the inverted runs. You need to just let certain players just be expressive. And I feel like he's getting lost in this system type play where all the other players fit that system. He is not that player, clearly. He isn't a system player. And yeah, you could argue, you know, putting him in there in a system where the team needs to gel and needs to play as one big functioning unit, he might not work. But for me, he was one of the better players on the pitch yesterday, and one of the players that really got you up off your seat and you thought, like, oh, he's got the ball back now. Like, oh, he's just made a great turn. He's going to get us forward. He was playing the ball left. He was playing the ball right. He was running himself. He was beating his man. He was putting good balls into the box. So I just think, you know, give him time and the performances will come, and maybe he will fit the system a bit better and start playing the system more. But you can't look at certain players, and just because they don't run around at 100 mile an hour like Ashley Westwood used to do and Ashley Barnes used to do, like, does not mean that they're not a good player. Like, sometimes you just have to look at what a player can do and not what they can't.
Yeah, no, fair enough. I completely agree. I feel like he got a bit of unnecessary stick yesterday, as I've said. But Jamesy Lad says, Trezor did well. Wish he stayed on longer than he did. I agree with that. But I do feel like he started to tire a little bit at that point. He wasn't getting into the game that much in the second half for everything that I've just said. And I feel like the change might have come at the right time. Because JBG did well when he came on, missed a couple of sitters. Well, the one sitter, but we'll mention that later on. Keep your comments coming in, though. Colin McGlynn says, good morning, played okay yesterday. Kenny Bridges says, we could have won that if we took our chance, and I'm still half asleep. Apparently, it's 5:30 a.m. over there. So thank you for tuning in at that time, mate. Mark Marsden says, third centre midfielder needed in the starting 11. Never been good enough in midfield, playing with only 2. I think in certain games, like yesterday, I think the first half, you could make an argument for that. But say, like, well, you know, maybe against Villa as well would be a good case for that. But playing against, you know, your Lutons at home and stuff like that, I think we'll be all right with just the 2. Andy Benny says, at least we've started keeping the games longer to give ourselves a chance of result, even against top teams. Yeah, you could say that. That's a fair point, mate. However, it could easily have been 3 or 4 at half time. They had the one that was disallowed that shouldn't have really been disallowed. And Trafford made some good saves. But to be fair, that's what Trafford's there for. So, yeah, when people always make the argument, oh, your keeper kept you in the game, that's literally what he's there for. So, or your striker scored the goal. Bar me that argument. And Stuart Rhodes, he says, hi, guys. Thought we showed far too much respect to Liverpool in the first half. Berg looked like he had a big Christmas dinner. Yes, mate, we said that at the very start, didn't we? I thought Sanderberg was a little bit poor in the first half yesterday, but came better into the game second half yesterday. To be fair, I thought he played well in the second half. You've mentioned Trafford already. And I just briefly mentioned him then. Another great performance from Trafford. Kept us in the game in the first half, but that's what he's there to do. And, you know, he's just looking a bit better than what he used to, isn't it? It's not just the shot stopping, which I feel like has improved, even though everybody said or constantly says there's never been an issue with his shot stopping. But I do feel like he's a bit more of a presence now. He tries to come for crosses. Sometimes gets caught out in them, but didn't yesterday. Collected a couple of crosses, came out of his area, played like a bit of a sweeper keeper a little bit at some point. I think I saw a stat the other day. Solent, if you're in the chat, he is yesterday. Sorry, that he made like 8 saves in the first half or something like that. So a great performance from Trafford. And obviously Isaac in the WhatsApp group, you'll have seen him on the fan reaction, said yesterday that he kind of felt bad for giving him some stick earlier in the season. But I'm on the argument that kind of you put back in response, Sam. Like, well, he wasn't good enough at the start of the season, so that the stick that they were giving him was justified. But now he's coming out the other end of it, and if anything, all that stick and him standing by it and not being dropped, which we all called for him to be fair, but him not being dropped has given him that confidence and will make him better for it and make him a better keeper. But I think we're really starting to see the best of Trafford now.
Yeah, I think it's the best part of being a football fan and stuff like that. Is like some people can start slow, but eventually they do come back round eventually. And we've watched James Trafford this season concede like 14 goals in 3 games. Like, and as much as that's not just down to him, and we have called that out as well, that the defense has been one of our biggest issues so far this season. James Trafford's still a huge part of that, and there's some chances that have gone in that maybe he should have saved. His command of his box was poor, and his ability to play the ball left and right was poor, and still isn't his greatest attribute. But his shot stopping ability has become absolutely fantastic, and his ability to keep us in games now is what's becoming paramount. And it's a little bit similar to what we used to have with Nick Pope. Like, Nick Pope didn't have great distribution. We never expected, I mean, we weren't playing that style of football anyway, but Nick Pope didn't have great distribution. Even up to Chris Wood, he couldn't even kick the ball up to Chris Wood. Sometimes it was that poor. But his ability to keep us in games is what made us, a good team and a good goalkeeper. And he's keeping us in games with these saves, and that's what we need. Like, we need to not be down and out in the 25th minute, 2 goals down, because 1 goal down already feels like a mountain task for us at the moment. 2 goals down is game over. Like, we will not. I don't think we'll come back from a 2-goal deficit all season to pick up any points. Like, and I know it's really pessimistic, but I've watched 18 games of it now, and I haven't seen a single game where we've gone down. And that statistic still shows that Burnley are the only team in the league that haven't picked up any points from a losing position this season.
Yeah.
Not even 1 point. So, yeah, I think Trafford's ability in goal has got a lot better. I think he's getting a lot more used to his defenders. He's getting a lot more used to playing in the Premier League. And I think we're only going to reap the benefits of keeping him in the team, even though some of us didn't agree with the fact that, he should have stayed in the lineup this long. At the time, we're now reaping the benefits of him staying in the lineup for this long. So fair play to him. He's really come out of his shell, and he's been really good.
Yeah, no, I agree. He's been fantastic the last few games. I believe, I've not looked back at the goals yet, but I believe Michael Owen gave him a lot of criticism for the second yesterday. Obviously, I don't think, did you manage to get to the game yesterday? I don't think you did you, with Christmas? So what was, did it go through his legs, that second goal?
I can't remember it. Who scored the second goal? Jota, right?
Jota, yeah.
It was, I don't know. I mean, I'm not being funny, but the kid's like, if they're like 2 yards away from him, he gets into the box, tells Coutinho, like, he could have hit it above him, it'd have gone in. He could have hit it to the left, to the right. It doesn't make a difference. It was going to go in. Like, the game was either going to go one way. It was either going to go Burnley throw loads of men forward and pick up a goal, or they throw loads of men forward and get caught on the counter attack. And that's what happened. Like, it is what it is. Like, I'm not going to put any blame on someone conceding a goal on the 93rd minute. Yeah,
no, fair enough. It's just what Michael Owen said. But I did say at the time, because obviously it was a tight angle. So when it went in, I did say at the time, like, oh, bloody hell, could finish that to my dad next to me. You mentioned there, like, he's getting used to his defenders in front of him. And it's not just the defenders in front of him now. We're looking at a pretty settled team, aren't we? It's looking like Vincent. One of the things we said earlier on was Vincent needs to find his favourite starting 11, and I feel like he's found it now. There might be a couple of debates in there that people may have personally. I know O'Shea's did well yesterday. I would personally prefer to see somebody else in there, namely Ekdal.
But did all right yesterday.
He didn't really have. I didn't see any major errors from him.
I'm starting to get like a little bit frustrated with him now, because like there is a side.
Did he give the ball away? Like, what was it? I don't remember any major errors from him.
It's not major errors. It's little things with him. Like, for example, for that second goal, like, it's just such a brain dead way of defending. Coming for the ball that far, taking a touch that big in front of you, and then he didn't even put an actual tackle, and he just kind of trailed his right foot towards the ball, and then he put us under pressure from doing that. Like, if he had just lumped it up the pitch like he should have done, or actually put his body in the way of the oncoming midfielder to try and win the ball back. But he kind of just went like, he kind of just like flailed the right leg at it to see if he won the ball, and he didn't. And then it was 4 against 3, all because of his poor first touch, and second, not putting an actual tackle in. Like, that's criminal defending. Like, and one of the other things as well is his passing ability is absolutely horrific. It's so bad. Like, he makes one good pass out of like 8. He doesn't play the ball with any conviction to anybody. He just kicks it and just sees where it goes. He doesn't he doesn't pick a target and play it. And playing out from the back and playing the style that we do, he does not suit that play out from the back style as well. Because when we give him the ball, like I can't remember the exact situation. It's very minor and it's going to sound really pathetic, but we got the ball from Trafford and he played it to O'Shea, and he turned and he had Vitinho to his right, and the pass was on for about 2 or 3 seconds. And he waited and waited and waited to the point where Darwin Núñez was right in front of him. But Salah was then right slap bang in the middle of, like, literally they'd sandwiched him basically. And rather than just hoofing it up the pitch or picking a pass, he literally played it to Trafford, who had that much space between him and Salah. And then Trafford kicked the ball out of play and everyone were like, oh, bloody hell, Trafford. It wasn't Trafford. It was O'Shea's dead pass to Trafford. And O'Shea puts people under so much pressure. And I've found that with everyone. He does it to Sander Berge in midfield. He gives him a ball where someone's right on his back and Sander's got to turn really quickly or make a quick pass. He does it with Brown. Like, he just needs to calm down in games. But if he's not a ball-playing centre-half, then we need to look at bringing in a ball-playing centre-half, because honestly, he kills us in so many situations. He's had better games and we've given him praise for it. But overall, his ability on the ball and defensively, I'm kind of okay with it. Other than him pulling out of the tackle yesterday, I'm kind of all right with his aerial ability and things like that. But his ability to play out from the back is worse than James Trafford's. And James Trafford was getting stick for his passing ability, and O'Shea's not getting any. And I think his passing ability is awful.
Yeah, fair enough. It's interesting that, because as a comment here from Sue, who says, saw a stat that says O'Shea is one of the best 5 defenders in the league on the stats. I don't know how that works. I can imagine where that stats come from and who's put it out there. I presume it's based on aerial duels and tackle duels, but he loses concentration too easily. And that's exactly the problem with him. He does lose concentration too easily. And that's probably the reason why his passing isn't the best. He's probably just not thinking, for an example. But what I was saying before all that is like that there's debates in certain areas with that team. For me, I'd have O'Shea out and Ekdal in still, but it's hard to say that when Ekdal, we still haven't really seen him play in this league yet. Ekdal could come in and could be dreadful. It could, because he's not very fast. He has a better footballing brain, in my opinion, than the 2 defenders, but he could be getting caught out. So we'll see. I would still like to see Ekdal, but in front of him, you've now got a settled defence. So when Taylor's available, you've got Taylor on the left and obviously Vitinho on the right, with the 2 in the middle that we just mentioned, Bayer and O'Shea. And then the midfield 2 now of Brownhill and Sander, who have come on leaps and bounds recently. I'd say now that the wingers, I know Trezor's only started the 1 game recently, but I'd say the wingers are probably what company would want. Maybe the only bit that he might chop and change here and there in the upcoming games, with Trezor on the left and Odebear on the right, and then obviously Foster up front. Do you think that's company's team now, do you reckon? Is anything that you change? Obviously, potentially O'Shea out, judging by the rant that you just had Ekdal in.
The thing is, though, like, then this is the thing, though, like, I don't think Ekdal's the answer. I love Ekdal. I think he's an unbelievable defender, and I do think if he comes in, he'd be brilliant. But I just think the track record of injuries is the thing that worries me, because, like, you could have 4 or 5 good games with Ekdal, and then he could get injured, and then it's like you're back to O'Shea, and it's like, and I don't. Yeah. When I say this as well, I don't even hate O'Shea, because I said at the start of the season, I think Dar O'Shea would be a great signing.
You were buzzing with that signing, weren't you?
From what I've seen, I don't think that there's been anything where I can sit there and I can genuinely say, hand on my heart, that I feel confident with Dar O'Shea defensively and in the system. We talked about Trezor from a systematical standpoint. Maybe he doesn't work. Maybe that's why he's not been in the team. But he's in a position where he needs to be creative, whereas Dar is in a position where you just have to be solid. You have to be solid and you have to play as a unit. And I just think he for some reason seems to be a weak link for me at the moment, and that's no disrespect to him, because I also think he's had some very, very, very good games. But I know, and then again, we say that as well, but we've also had conversations about like where would you bring players in, and every single person all the time says centre midfielder, centre half, left back. So if we don't want another centre back and we think Dara's the guy, why do we all think we need another centre back? Like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But no, I think that's that what we've wanted is this though. We've wanted him to be like, what's he starting 11? This, and this feels like this is it. Like,
yeah, exactly.
Bear is fantastic. His ability on the ball is unbelievable. Trezor coming in can only be a positive. I know there'll be some people out there that just want to hate on him because of like him being the marquee signing and him coming in on deadline day and leaving it all the way to the end and stuff. And people will like to read into it and all that type of stuff. He signed his name on the dotted contract, on the dotted line. He's got a 4-year contract. Yes, he can leave probably whenever he wants. And maybe you can sit there and think he doesn't want to play for us. He signed a contract. He wanted to be at Burnley. Like, we looked at him all the way through the transfer window. He'll have been getting offers from elsewhere. Like, he's picked Burnley. He's a Burnley player. Just back a Burnley player. And he's the one that, you know, had statistics to back it up from last season. He got 20-odd goals and 20-odd assists, or whatever it was, 14 goals and 28 assists or something like that. Crazy stats. So not having a player of that caliber in the starting 11 for me was always strange. And now I'm hoping we can see the best of Mike Trezor on that left-hand side, and hopefully the fact that he's not just started a game against Liverpool and then the next game's Aston Villa means that, you know, he gets taken out because we don't pick results up in those games. But I would like to see that. I would love to see that lineup be the same. I think one of my only issues yesterday, and it might not come across very well or be well received. I don't mind, but I don't think Lyle had a great game yesterday. I don't think his first touch was great. I don't think he linked play up very well. I think he wasn't. We didn't create a lot of chances for him either. So I think you've got to kind of cut him some slack there. But he wasn't the Lyle that we saw even in the last game. But you are playing Liverpool, so you have to cut him some slack. But I just thought we lacked a number 9 yesterday, in my opinion. I don't think when we did have the chances, I don't think we plus, especially like I say, from that situation, like where he ran through and he tried to dribble and then he just fell over. It's like when you're in the Premier League and you get those chances where you have an overload of players, you can't afford. And I know it's human and there's things that happen, but you can't afford to fall over when you're on an attack 4 against 3. You just can't. You can't fall over and fall over nothing. And that pass to Vitinho where he took a touch and could have played it out wide, would have had an overload at the back post for a ball into the box, and he played it short straight into the defender. Like, they're just the little frustrating errors. But we also had it with Rodriguez as well. So I'm not giving him stick. I'm just pointing out. I just thought we lacked a number 9 that was linking up play like Lyle normally does yesterday.
Yeah, I think going back to the Fulham game, Lyle played very well with the link-up stuff. Did it very well. There was this, I know I mentioned it on the Fulham full-time show, but I'll mention it again. It was literally within the first 3 minutes where he dropped deep, jumped in the air, brought it down with his chest, brought one of the wingers in, and then did it from there. And we got a corner, which is just something Jay wouldn't do for us. I think on the flip side of it, and to play devil's advocate to your point, is, you know, he's had, a month, 2 months out where he's not even been training, probably been back to South Africa. We don't know where he's been or what he's been doing. It's probably just a fitness thing, I think, yesterday. It's a weird one because I wasn't shocked to see him in the lineup because he's literally the only good option that we've got. But I wouldn't have been surprised if Vincent had just maybe tried Jay against Liverpool and then brought Foster back in for the Villa game. But he's probably thinking to himself, well, they've pretty much got 2 weeks off in a minute. I won't start any of them against Tottenham in the Cup, and then they've got the winter's break after that. So he's probably just thinking to himself, we'll play him and then stuff like that. But
I don't know why we don't put Obafemi in. I honestly don't know why he's there. I just don't get it.
I keep forgetting about him. Genuinely keep forgetting about him because we just never seen it. It's the same with Benson and Zaroury as well. Like, it just never seemed to be here. I'll just quickly bring this comment in from Doc. He says, "Merry Christmas, Turfcast team. Hope is still there for the new year." Thank you, Doc. Merry Christmas, mate. Hope you had a good one. I just want to quickly as well mention Charlie Taylor, because Charlie Taylor was another player that got a lot of stick earlier in the season. I feel like he was a victim of how well Martza did last year in the system. And Charlie Taylor can't play in that system, and we struggle to find the balance that we have now, because we all wanted Charlie to play the way that Vincent wanted Martin to play last year. Charlie couldn't do it, so now he's got Vitinho do it. We've shifted the balance to the right-hand side now, as I've mentioned a million times. But I thought he was fantastic yesterday. This is a comment from very early on. It came at 10:32 a.m., so over half an hour ago. So apologies, CM, if you're not still in the chat. But CM Day says, Charlie Taylor gave a great performance last night. Trafford Stockdale-Goldie has been a lot worse as well. I agree. I thought Charlie Taylor was fantastic. I think he's in with the shout of man of the match, but we'll do the man of the match shouts later. So don't stop putting all your comments in yet. You have to wait. Yeah, it was fantastic. And there was a moment, I can't remember who it was against. I can't remember who he tackled, but it was a moment where he was running one-on-one with somebody and he did a brilliant tackle and prevented a pretty much brilliant goal. But the defending side of it, nobody's ever had an issue with it. But another great performance from Charlie yesterday.
Yeah, he's just silencing people like game by game. Like he literally has been one of the most consistent players for us this season, and that is testament to his character. Like I say, like, you know, when I used to work down here, like he used to come into where I used to work all the time. And I always used to have like a 10-15 minute chat with him. And he absolutely loves playing for Burnley. He absolutely loves it. And he's done it for years. And I remember he used to come in all the time and he used to be like, oh, yeah, like I remember it was after the Wolves game ages ago. Do you remember where he got 2 assists and he assisted when we won 2-1 at Molineux, and Barnes and Wood both scored headers and he assisted both of them. And it was that game where Daniel Podence put on his Instagram.
Yeah, I remember that. His little cut on his lip.
Yeah. And he came back and I was like, oh, you had a great game the other day. And he was like, oh, cheers, mate. And he stood and spoke to me for like 25 minutes about that. Thank you for watching and all this type of stuff. And we were talking about the game, proper dissecting it like we do on here. And honestly, he absolutely loves playing for Burnley. So when he was out of the lineup, like, because I'm down here in Leeds, obviously, I'm a bit like, oh, I feel for him a little bit, to be fair. But then now he's back in the team and he's thriving so much and he's doing what he's always done, which is just be Charlie Taylor. Like, go in, be a good defensive left back, but he can always pop up with an attacking threat. He's always there for the overlap. He's always there to beat a man. He's always there to put a ball into the box. Like, Charlie Taylor has been a good player for Burnley for years. And just because we went through a transition period and changed the style of play and played with a different left back for a full season doesn't mean that Charlie Taylor has not been one of the best players to play for Burnley in the last decade. He's been brilliant. And this is just testament to him. He's stuck with it. He's gritted his teeth through last season. He's come back into the team and he's took his chance with both hands. So fair play to the kid. He's absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, no, don't disagree with any of that. He was fantastic yesterday. Matthew Corbett says, honestly, I don't know why Charlie gets so much stick. Very consistent under Dyche, and now suddenly not good enough. People have a short memory, which is obviously just an expansion of what you've just said there, Sam. Milltown Dingle says, morning, lads. And he goes on to say, I was saying when he misplaced that pass down the line, it's the first thing I've seen you do wrong all season. Well, yes, morning, mate. And yes, I remember that. And my dad would go, bloody hell. Just because it were a particular moment where we needed to start pushing. But that he played very well yesterday, and I think he's in with the shout of man of the match. Probably won't get it because of somebody else, but we'll get onto that in a minute. Solent says, I've never had a bad word for Taylor. I was shouting for him to be in the World Cup squad prior to the last World Cup. But you know what? As ridiculous as that sounds, the fact that Luton Town fans are now calling for their left back to be in the England squad. I can't even remember his name, and I mean no disrespect to Luton, but
Ryan
Charlie
Giles.
Taylor. Is that who it is? Yeah. It rings a bell. Charlie Taylor has been a lot more consistent over the last, like you said, decade. So back in the day, he definitely should have been in the conversation. Maybe not so much get it. Asian Blogger says we need 6. I think, Gordon, if there's not many points, but much more than we are tracking against. That's in response to a comment, to be fair, from earlier, which I didn't realise. But I do want to bring in a comment from Ancient Blogger that I did see earlier, but we're on a roll, so I didn't bring it in. He says, I see Vincent having put together a team with the long-term view, no expectations on staying up this season, but using this as a brutal learning curve. I think we're all in that point of view now, aren't we? I think at the start of the season, we all used to go, I don't just want to write this season off. It shouldn't just be a write-off. But I think now the position that we're in, with Luton winning again yesterday, Forest miraculously winning at Newcastle out of nowhere, which pissed me off. I wasn't that bothered about the Luton win because it's at Sheffield United, but that Forest win were a bit of a blow, if I'm honest, because they're the team that we're looking to catch, not Luton. But I think we're all in that position now where it's no expectations because of the position that we're in. But we always knew it was kind of like a long-term view, long-term project, didn't we?
Yeah, I think it's one of them situations. It's like you'd be quite a strange football fan to not be disappointed at the fact that this season hasn't gone the way that we wanted it to go.
Yeah.
Obviously, no one wants you to get relegated, but nobody wants you to go 18 games and only having what are we on, 11 points now?
Yeah, I think
we're on 11 points. Like you don't want to be on 11 points and you have played games at this point in the season. Like you just don't. Like if you're on 15 points now as well, I feel like you'd be a little bit better because that's like another win and a draw. Like you're still pretty content.
Yeah, that's what Luton are on now, and obviously they've played one game less than us with the Lockyer incident at Bournemouth.
And I just think like if you're in that situation, you're a little bit better. But I think we've had a first half of the season where we've had not a lot to sing about, not a lot to laugh about, not a lot positive to talk about. We went 10 games in a row losing. I believe that's correct, isn't it? We lost 10 in a row.
I'm not sure. I presume including Cup.
I found this on the web.
Did you? No, so at spells it hasn't been positive. So now we're kind of just in this. I don't know about everybody else, but I'm in this kind of position where I'm like, no matter what happens now, like it just is what it is. I'm just going to take it game by game and just be like, whatever happens, happens. Like if we win, yay. If we lose, well, I'm used to that. Like, and if we draw, then it's like, it's a point, and it's a big point in the fight for survival. But we've given ourselves a monumental task to do because we're 6 points adrift now, and you don't want to be in those positions. And yes, you can bring it back, and yes, it can all click, and we can win 3 games in a row, lose one, and win another 2 games in a row, and you're in a better position. But based on what we've seen, it's hard to think like that. You want to think like that because you follow Burnley, and we all support Burnley. We want the team to do well, but this isn't one of those situations where I want to be, optimistic. I feel very pessimistic, and I feel like I've been pushed down that route. And the pessimism side of me is it's too difficult. And no matter who we bring in January, we should be bringing in players for next season that are going to come down with us and make us stronger in the Championship than we are buying players to try and keep us in the division. Because then we'll end up with like a Weghorst situation where you buy a striker for £13 million and he doesn't drop into the Championship with you, and he thinks he's better than the Championship, and then he goes on loan, and every single transfer window you turn around and say, should we bring him back? Do we think he should play for us?
I'm fucking
it's like
sick of
I'd
that
just rather just sack it off now.
Yeah.
And
I
don't
agree.
want those types of situations.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see who does stay. I think Trezor might be off.
I can see a couple of them going now because of this, because of the what is the word I'm trying to think of here? I'm going to completely change it because I can't think of it. I can't even think of it. Because certain players are now playing better, they don't look like they're in one of the worst Premier League sides that's ever come into the division. We look like we're actually in games now, and what they're actually doing is looking good. So, like for example, we could keep Odebear, but Odebear looks like one of the better players in a soon, or not soon to be, but like doomed for relegation.
Most likely, yeah.
Zeki won't stay. There's no way I'm doing his staying. I'm doing it. There's no way he stays in the Championship. Zeki Amdouni has been one of our more consistent players, and he just looks.
That turn he did yesterday, by the way, that turn,
unbelievable. It was so sweet. But so we'd lose him. We'd keep Trafford, I think. Keep Trafford.
I think we keep all the youngsters, even Odebear and Amdouni. Not Amdouni. Sorry, what's Koleosho? I think we keep all the youngsters
because you've got to think if you're a Premier League team, right, and these guys have tormented you week upon week, you're not gonna have to spend £13 million on them. You might probably be able to get him for a bit less, but you're talking for Odebear, you're talking maybe 15 million. You're not going to get 25 for him off the back of this season. Koleosho is the only one who you maybe could sit there and say we could price some teams out from it. But I do very much think like if somebody like a Chelsea or a Liverpool came in for Koleosho and just said like, oh, we'll give you 10, 15. We've still made a profit on him, but I think you'd be very harsh to say no, wouldn't you? Like, those two wide players have played to the point where if a big team came for him, you wouldn't be like, that's weird. Like, because they look good. Like, they look like good players and they look like they fit
with a lot of potential. I think that's where a big side might come in for somebody like them, because you can look at them now and think they're good. But I was saying to the guy next to me on the other side, not my dad, on the other side yesterday, like, Wilson Odebear, what is he, 19? Something like that. Imagine how good he's going to be at his peak when he's 25, 26, 27. He's going to be sensational.
Yeah, he is.
But Icky Punk says, come on, lads, planning back in the Championship where there's half a season left, for God's sake. I agree with that in a way, but I think, even the most optimistic Burnley fan, we will be better in the second half of the season. We will be better in the second half of the season. I think even the most optimistic Burnley fan will probably say that we are most likely to go down. We've been in this position before, not quite as bad after the Everton game on Boxing Day, in whatever year it was, and managed to get out of it. But you just felt like that team had a bit more fight about that. I do think we'll be better in the second half of the season.
Yeah,
and probably put ourselves in with a fighting chance. But when you've got like the only team that we can probably realistically catch now is potentially Forest, because I still think Everton will move away. Palace are getting dragged into it, to be fair, and so are Brentford. I know I got shot down by suggesting Brentford not that long ago, but if the bottom three were decent, which we're not, but if the bottom three were decent, Brentford would be in a lot of trouble. Same with Palace. So the only team that you can realistically catch at the minute is Forest, and obviously they had a very big win yesterday, which will give them confidence. They're 6 points ahead of us. Luton are 4 points ahead of us. Everton, I don't really like talking about them. I even think they might get a result today at home against City. But then, your Forest and your Palaces and your Brentfords could be dragged into it if we put a run together. But you're going to need the bottom three to start putting a run together to bring them into it.
That's my thing with the division so far this season, is when everybody else needs to pick up a result and everybody else needs to try and get out of it. Fulham picked up 3 or 4 wins on the bounce and won 5-0 twice. They were a team that I said we could realistically catch 3-4 weeks ago, and then they won 2 games 10-0 on aggregate. And then they weren't in it then. So then it turned over to Forest. They've just beat Newcastle. Like, at what point are we going to have those situations? At what point are we going to sit there and be like, we shouldn't win that game, but we've come away with a win? It's like yesterday. Like, for example, the one thing about that game that annoyed me is they went through a spell of being so nervy and so, like, very much where we could have gone and got something from that game. And that Goodmanson header, I don't care what anybody says, that is a criminal miss in that situation.
Yeah, it is. It is. And
across the box.
Thing that made me laugh more about that is he just didn't get any stick for it.
Yeah,
imagine if Trezor missed that.
Yeah, it'd be horrendous. That is such a terrible miss in a game where you need to pick up points. In a spell of the game where we're on top against a team that we shouldn't be on top against because they're folding and not using game management very well, and they were rising to some of the occasions. I mean, it's not exactly a big occasion coming to Turf Moor, but to win, to go top of the league, it's a big occasion for them. So what we needed to do was go at them and keep going at them, and we did so well at that. Like Odebear getting down the line, Amdouni getting down the line. We were creating chances. We had Burgess' header. That header was criminal. That was so criminal.
But both the headers were criminal.
Both of them were bad, but that one was you free header back stick, all the goal to aim at, and you head it over bar, and people can sit there and say it was fizzed at him or whatever. All you've got to do is put your head down, and instead he just went and just let it hit him in face.
Yeah, it were bizarre, that head. For somebody so tall, and I know Sheffield United fans have said in the past, he's not great at heading, and I think that's the perfect example of it right there. Just get over it, man. You're so tall, get over it. But just to go back towards a more positive chat before we start wrapping it up, Wilson Odebear, another fantastic performance from him yesterday. A little bit quieter in the first half than he was in the second, but second half he really tried to make things happen, and that's that's the Odebear that we've seen since he's come into the side after the Corley Osho injury. That kid, like I said, he's going to be special, really special.
He's just such a brilliant player, but it still hazards the question, though, doesn't it? Like we've said all season long, like we bought him for £13 million. He didn't play till game week 15 properly. Like, do you know what I mean? It's like all this, like this money could have gone into players that are going to be in the starting 11, and it's like Corley Osho came in, and of course he came in for like £3 million. No one expected him to be anything, and he's been unreal. So he's the signing that we've bought and has been great value for money. But then you've got £18 million Trezor on the bench, £13 million Odebear on the bench, £13 million Ramsey on the bench, who for some reason got 4 minutes the other day. It's just weird. Like,
that was bizarre.
My thing with it is, like, as much as I know you have to be like, you have to spend money to create an overall squad, I don't think we're in the position to be spending 13, 14, 15 million pound on players that are going to sit on the bench when we've got holes in the team that need addressing. But Odebear coming in, like I said, from game week 15, I was like, what? Why have we bought him? And then now it's like, this is why we've bought him, because the kid is absolutely something special. His feet are great. His ability to get out of a 2v1 situation is unreal. His chance creation is brilliant. We really have got a gem wide midfield duo of Corley Osho and Odebear, and the fact that they've got age on their side as well, and they play for Burnley and they're tied to long-term contracts is very, very, very good for us. If they were to drop into the Championship with us, which I really think they can, but I do think a decent enough offer from a Premier League team could come in for both of them. But if they're in the Championship next season, that's the best duo in the Championship from a wide perspective.
Easily, yeah.
And
we would rip it up with them too.
Unreal. It'd be unreal. Oh, and then, for example, let's say we do lose Amdouni, then we've got Ramsey to play the 10. We've got Foster up front, who, you know, I do think is a good striker, but I think with what's been going on, I don't think he'll have a move on the horizon. Midfield-wise, I think Brownhill and Burge would drop down with us. Again, we're having this conversation like we're going down. There's still a huge chance, but I'm talking in a hypothetical, so don't shout at me in the comments. But then the defence as well, I think the defence stays the same. Dara will drop down, Bayer would drop down. I think there might be a couple of people that look at Bayer because
Bayer's the only one that could potentially leave, I think.
Yeah, I think Trafford stays, Vitinho stays, I think Taylor stays unless Leeds go up, in which case there's always conversations about Taylor going back to Leeds. So I think there's a lot of players. I think Zaruri should stay, but to be fair, if he didn't want to stay, then fair play to him because he's not even looked at the moment. And then Benson as well. Like, if I still think Benson will play a part in this team, but it's whether or not this is a bloke that were linked with AC Milan 6 months ago for 25 million. Like
that move won us the Championship. Literally did. Like that move that he did won us the Championship. He did it like 15 games in a row to the point where when he did it at Blackburn, I went, he's going to cut inside, he's going to shoot. He's cut inside. I went, there he is. He's going to hit it. He hit it. He went, I told you. He just knew it was going to happen.
Because he's an unreal player. But
he's class.
If we have those players in the team, and let's say we do lose Trezor, and you know we do send Brun Larson back, and I mean, for example, to be fair, Brun Larson for £1 million in the Championship next season, you might as well do that. Like,
yeah, that's a point.
But you know, then obviously, I think Nathan Redmond would leave because he's still Premier League experience, and he'd still go to a lower end Premier League team. So there's a couple of players that I think could potentially go, but the squad that we'd go down with and the squad that we'd be able to invest into is really, really good. And I think then that still goes to the question of the whole Company debacle that we've been talking about. That's why Company would still be my manager in the Championship, because
it's Sean he can do it already.
The caliber of player that we'd bring in, the way that we'd play, the style that we'd implement with players, and the Championship is you know, it's a hard league. It's a very hard league, but it's a blanker canvas than the Premier League, because the Premier League, it feels like you move up into the Premier League and you're playing against robots all the time. Like, people are just like, you get beat by a system every week, don't you? Like, you don't look at, for example, you don't go to Aston Villa and look at Ollie Watkins and be like, oh, he's one of the best players in the league. He just scores like 15, 20 goals a season because they play in triangles and get round you and square it across the box to him and he taps it in. Like, and that's what nearly every team in the Premier League does. Like, there's only like 5 or 10 very good players in the Premier League, and then there's like the rest of them all just fit a system constantly.
Yeah, I saw something the other day that said football's kind of lost its romance now. You're just playing against systems all the time, which kind of goes to that. But that's just the way that football is these days. I just want to pick up on a couple of points that in the comments. Mainly this one from Matthew Corbett. I was thinking about this the other day because I had to do a video for one of who was it, Green King, and one of the questions was, what's your worries about AFCON? And now, my point was, just for those reading on the listening on the podcast, I'll read the comment out. Matthew Corbett says, AFCON can't come quick enough. A lot of teams around us were missing a few players. That will be a good time to pick up a few results. And he's spot on, because I was looking at it, like I said the other day, Sheffield United will have about 4 or 5 players, I think it is, going to AFCON. So they're going to be considerably weaker. They're already dog shit, let's be fair. So they will be considerably weaker. Luton have like 3. So Luton are going to have a few players missing. And we play them, I think, in the middle of it. So that's going to be good for us. Hopefully we can pick up a result there against Luton, because as much as we've given them grief over the season, they are showing that they're actually a decent battle inside. They might not have the players, they might not have the quality, but again, they found a system that works for them. And I know of some people earlier in the season, in our comments for some reason, we're slagging off what's he called, their manager. But it's I'm trying to think of his name now. What's their manager called? Luton's manager. Yeah.
Rob Edwards.
That's it, Rob Edwards. Don't know why I couldn't remember that. But they found a system that works for them, and fair play to them. So it's one of them things. But AFCON, we're not going to have anyone going. Maybe just Aurora if Morocco pick him. Obviously, there's a debate about Foster, but Company's still strong. He said no twice now. So unless Lyle turns around and says, look, I want to go, then I don't think he's going. So we could potentially get stronger as Lyle gets better and fitter while other teams are getting weaker. So AFCON could work in our favour, couldn't it, mate?
Yeah, it could. It could very much so.
Or it's lose 7, apparently.
Well, if they lose 7, then that's madness. But for me, we have to, like, I've very much gone into this kind of this shell. Last season, it felt like I could go at anybody. I could go at Birmingham fans for absolutely no apparent reason, because like, we're Burnley and look at how great we've been and stuff like that. And like, now I very much feel like I just want to focus on us. I'm not bothered about what other people do. I just want to keep winning. I want to keep us being positive and playing positively, free flowing football, and really going at teams, really pressing back lines, and really giving the fans something to shout about. Because like I say, in fairness, I don't think we've had half as much as what we should have had to sing about this season. And I think we're in a position where, like I say, I just want to see us. I just want to see us win games and play well. Yeah. And whatever falls into place, and then it is what it is, isn't it? Like, if we win and Forest win, then it is what it is. You can't change it. So we just have to keep winning. But the only thing that we're in control of is our performances and our results, and we have to be better at that. We can't rely on other people anymore. Like, you've got to focus on what we're doing.
Yeah, no, fair enough. We start winning games, we put ourselves in with a chance, and that's what we need to start doing now. I've only won, 3 games all season, is it off the top of my head? Yep, 3 up for Luton, Sheffield United and Fulham. So that's not enough. We need to win more than that in the second half of the season. We need to be winning probably 5-6 games in the second half of the season minimum, just to be within a shout. So yeah, obviously we could do that in the second half of the season. Right, we'll start wrapping it up, but obviously, because we are getting towards the hour mark, it is Christmas, kind of, still. So we have families and lives a little bit. So we do need to come off. But before we go, we obviously have the man of the match debate. Everybody, please get your comments in. Who was your man of the match? I think we can all pretty much agree on this one. There'll be some people, like earlier, who will suggest other people. But I'm going to go for Trafford. Kept us in the game. kept us in the game in the first half. Without him, it could have easily been 3 or 4, and it could have been another, Villa, Tottenham, Chelsea performance like earlier in the season. But it's not just the fact that he played well yesterday. It's him coming out the other side of all that criticism as well. Like he's like, this is a bit dramatic, but it's like a phoenix rising from the ashes, and it's good to see. Like I said, a bit dramatic, and I accept that, but it's the best way to put it. But I had a lot of stick earlier in the season, a lot of people calling for him to be dropped. Those free Muric shouts and stuff like that. And like I've said before, I do feel like some of the criticism was justified. So I don't personally feel bad for coming on here and criticizing him and criticizing him on social media, because apparently he does go on social media, he does go on the Twitter Clarets hashtag, and he does have a look at the comments that people are saying. So it must have been tough for him, man. It must have been tough for him. But the fact that he's come out the other side of it is getting better and better and better. I'm sure he'll have more stinkers. I'm sure he'll have more bad performances. But he's a kid, so it's going to happen. But he's getting better and better and better. So for me, my man of the match yesterday was James Trafford. How about you, mate?
Yeah, listen, mine is a toss-up. I think there's one clear one, but mine is a toss-up between Trezor and Trafford, because I think, like I say, I still think Trezor was the bright spark in the team. I thought he was the only person who was getting us forward and was looking to create, and it was what else was in front of him. What he was doing wasn't bad. It was where it was going, wasn't able to bring the ball down and really get it going. Like, I thought what he was doing was pretty good. So, but then, like I say, amongst all that, it is James Trafford, isn't it? Like, the bloke did absolutely fantastic again. The criticism of him was warranted back at the start of the season, but now the praise is warranted. Like, he deserves to be 100%. Praised for how well he's doing. And I think long may that continue. And I think it will. I think it's all been a learning curve for him as he's a young lad. And I think we're now in a position where we really are going to kick on, and he really is going to be our keeper. I think performances will get better as well, and they are getting better, and things will start to fall into place, and we will start to play better and pick up some more results. But James Trafford has been a fundamental part of some of those games so far, and yesterday was no different. Yes, we lost 2-0, but it could have been 5 if he wanted net. So fair play to him. Really well done.
Yeah, I agree with that. Doc Holiday says, man of the match, Trafford, even with their second goal. Solent says, man of the match, Trafford. Matthew Corbett says, Trafford. Ancient Blogger says, Trafford. Andrew from Always Claret says, man of the match, Trafford, but a shout out to Trezor and Audible. I will get your video up later, mate. Thanks for sending in your fan reaction. If you do want to send fan reactions in, by the way, guys, just drop us a DM on Twitter. We'll sort it out. I like Turfcast to be the voice of the fans rather than just the same faces on it every single week. David Trafford says Trafford. I've got to make a joke about that being his dad then, but Trafford, not Trafford. Sui says Trezor for me, look very good finally. Just a shame the annoying product wasn't there, but we can't argue with Trafford though. No, fair enough. Ancient Blogger says the criticism of Trafford are reminiscent of the game when he joined United, e.g. 2 week. Yeah, I agree with that. And Solomon goes on to say Trafford can and will improve. He's only 21. The average age in the Prem is 28. I saw something yesterday. And I don't think there'll be enough time for you to find the stats on it. But somebody, Icky Punk, by the way, says man of match of the day. I think you've meant to put man of the match, mate. Match of the day, Taylor, just for that challenge on Salah when through on goal. He confused me there. But yeah, I saw somebody say a stat yesterday that said even if Trafford played with us for the entirety of his contract, he would still be younger at the end of that than when Nick Pope was when he made his Burnley debut. So that's how young he is. Obviously, keepers in their prime. Early to mid 30s. It's not like an outfield player where it's.
I was going to say, goalkeepers can play till the 40 because they don't have to run as much. So, yeah, we'll see. We'll see. I've still got a lot of faith in him, and
100%.
Really,
me too.
He's really showing us why we should have faith in him now. So.
Yeah, no, agree. Well, we're going to wrap it up there. Thanks, Sam, for coming on. Always a pleasure to have you coming on, especially around by Christmas. I appreciate the effort. Thanks, everybody, in the comments as well. Just for those of you that have joined late, there's been a few. Obviously, Andrew from Always Claret, David Trafford. There's been a few of you that joined late. And if you aren't aware, the stream does stay on YouTube when I press end stream now, so you can watch it back at your leisure, and the podcast will be out pretty much instantaneously. So I'm just going to put the podcast out now. I'll also be doing the fan reaction videos now as well before I go downstairs and see my actual family. So thanks everybody for watching. Thanks everybody in the comments for commenting. Thank you again to Sam for coming on. Always a pleasure. And thank you to those listening on the podcast. I will try and do a pre-game show for Villa. I'll message Luke from the Villa page. He's normally quite good. So I can imagine that I will have a Villa fan on soon. I'm going down to Villa. Looking forward to it. Taking my little boy. So it should be a good crack. I'm not expecting much from it though, if I'm honest. But we'll see. We'll see. It's Luton after that, and that's the one where we've got to be focusing on really, I think. But yeah, thanks everyone for watching. Thanks everybody for listening, and we will see you next time.
Goodbye.
Excellent, mate. Hopefully it's finished now.
It's not even finished.
Is it not? Hello, everybody. Why is it not finishing?
Here we are trying to say goodbye, Mr. Lear. Anyway.